So you're, I guess I don't know if I knew that you even legally got married. So you were legally married.
I still can't believe you signed up to do this.
Did you have to be for the show?
No, I got legally married because I was told by an attorney I spoke to that it would be faster to get him into the country if we were married before we applied for the visa, like if I applied for a spousal visa instead of a K-1 visa. And if the end goal was that we were going to come to the States, like whatever would expedite that process.
Yeah. So you didn't have a goal to live in the States, but you thought you'd want to come and go.
So our goal was to have a place in the States and have a place there and go back and forth. That was the long-term goal. And so when Yohan and I had first met, like a week after I met him, right when I got back to the States, I applied for his tourist visa. Like I filled out the whole application online. I sent him the money to pay for it. He had to take like this payment, print out this piece of paper and go to a particular bank to pay for it. And we realized when he went to do that, or at least I realized when he went to do that, that the consulate was closed because it was during COVID. And so in Dominican Republic, their consulate in particular was closed for like 2.5 years. So the goal was that he was going to come on a tourist visa in the beginning, and then we would figure it out from there. And then once we realized the consulate was closed, that plan had to change. Okay. That's never covered in the show.
Really?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why I'm a villain.
It's like a big part of the whole process.
Part of the reason why I'm such a villain is because season 4, it's like I tricked him to think that I was getting him to the U.S., but really I was never going to apply for a spousal visa, and I was just going to move to DR, and he was going to have to live with it. And so that's part of the reason why everyone hates me. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but like that's one of them.
So when you said a big reason why you're so hated, I just imagine somebody watching this who hates you for another reason, yelling it like you saying that. Like, that's not why I hate you. I hate you. Like people really get mad that you think you know why they hate you.
Yeah, that is the thing. People do get mad. People get mad at everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here right now with Danielle. Okay, so this is the way I look at it, right? First and foremost, what's going on, people? I hope you're good. You know what I mean? Come on now. But it's quite interesting that Danielle says that and talks about how originally the plan was to have a place both in the States as well as in the DR. All right, cool, boom. We can run with that narrative, but the plan changed because of, you know, the DR embassy or whatever it was, consultant, whatever it was closed for 2 years. All right, cool. But also at the same time, there was a plan to get the visitor visa too, right, for him just to come to the States. All right, cool, but you couldn't do that because of that place being closed for 2 years. All right, no worries. But that 2 years is past, right? So my question is this: why could you not apply for it now, and then Yohan could have come to the States now? You see what I'm saying? Like, fair enough, you're married, okay? And at the same time, though, right now, the question is, did you actually apply for the spousal visa? Did you apply for the K-1 visa? Because you said you got married for those purposes. There is no record of you actually applying for those things. There's only record of you saying that you didn't apply for it because you wanted to stay in the DR. So, you know, Danielle says these things, but there's a lot of contradiction behind them because, you know, on the show, she clearly said that nobody made you say that, oh, I did not apply because I don't want to apply because I want to stay in the DR. That's what you said. And you're not the villain because of just that. You're the villain for so many other things. And to be fair, I'll say, to wrap it around in a nutshell, you're a villain simply because you say a lot of things that you don't back up. And I guess the reason why Yohan's always looked as the better person is because he says a lot of things, but actually behaves that way. He actually puts his action to what he says. You know what I mean? But you don't. And now Danielle likes to come out with all these answers off air. So when the show's not on, she'll go on her social media, on her Instagram, and she'll say, well, actually, guys, guess what? This is what actually went down. But then when we watch the show, she's like, something completely different. You know what? There's more for me to play. And the more that I play, the more you're going to understand how I believe Danielle is nothing but a walking contradiction. How Danielle just says a lot of things, but everything that she says has no action behind it, no proof behind it. It's literally just her speaking a bunch of crap. But the crazy part about it is that when it comes to Yohan, like I said before, when he speaks, he puts his actions behind what he says. But that doesn't mean that he's not the villain. Because for me personally, if I was to pick the two between Danielle and Yohan about who is the villain, I would pick Yohan purely because as a man, I don't like the way he can be quite aggressive. I don't like the way he can talk in a certain tone that is very disrespectful. Fair enough that she does it, but this is just based on a projection of my own standard of what a man should be. But hey, let's get into the other part, okay, of what went down in this little podcast of Danielle's with her little friend there. Because this shiz is interesting.
The context of your actual goals
yeah, I mean,
in the show.
It's television, right? Like we have to recognize that the show is going to be the most entertaining version of the truth. Reality TV is always going to be the most entertaining version of the truth without creating a completely different storyline. I think
But don't
that
they also do that though? I mean,
I have not
me,
I have not had an experience where they created a complete, like they made my husband hate me when he didn't really hate me.
Right.
They've never created an experience that would not have happened in real life. That is, I can say for sure. I can't really speak because of NDAs about like how the show is produced, but I will say that this idea that all reality TV is fake is not accurate. But to say that it's all real is also not accurate, because if you and we're recording this podcast and you can take a line from the beginning and a line from the end and put it together and create a completely different sentence that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
yeah, I don't have the time to do that, but yes, I could if one had the time.
But
yes,
if you were paid a very good salary to
course.
do that for a living, it's a skill that you have that you could, and you can create a completely different podcast. We could create a podcast about this kitchen.
Everybody knows that who's watching reality.
No,
television.
no.
No, they do know that. I think they don't care.
No, I'm telling you, Ryan. People think that we just show up to this burger spot with a film crew of 35 people just now because we decided to eat lunch there today.
You see, this is where it gets interesting for me. Because Danielle talks about, obviously the show, the reality side of it. That the reality is there, but it's also not there. But she does talk about the fact that they can take a line from here and a line from there, and then boom, bam, it creates whatever narrative. All right, cool. Let's run with that for a second. So let's just go back to what I was saying before, what Danielle was saying before, okay, about, when it comes to why she's the villain. Interesting, because if you ask me personally, when I look at the scenes that we have, these scenes aren't scenes that are necessarily put. Okay, so let's just say Danielle's sitting there on a cut scene, like I'm sitting here, right now, and I am talking a whole lot of words. Now, let's just say at this moment in time, the video has been edited. It's been cut. What's going to happen is if it stops right here, in fact, I'll show you, if it stops right there, remember, I'm here with my finger, right? Now I'm back in play, but now my finger's not there, right? So that means I've taken two things and I put them to one, right? Because there's been a glitch in the edit. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's how you know when they merge things together. So here's the thing. When Danielle has said certain things throughout the season, it has been in one shot. One whole shot with no glitches, no cuts, no nothing. So if you sit there in one whole shot like this, okay, no pausing, none of that stuff, okay, and I sit here and I say to you guys, hey, so I decided to not apply for the Q1 visa because I want to stay here. What does that say? But obviously there is the argument where maybe there are obviously moments where there can be a scene and then we cut into another frame of the show, whatever, and then they go back to the cutscene. All right, cool. Maybe in that point, they've done that 100%. I don't contest that one bit. But the fact is, though, if you've said certain things, you've said certain things. But either way, though, Danielle still agrees with the fact that reality TV is reality, just with a little bit of a spice, which is fair enough. But, lady, you're contradicting yourself. You do realize that, right? But we continue.
I want to say the majority of America. We don't live in the majority of America. Even though you live on Long Island, you still live in New York. And I live where people come from all over the world and have lots of different life experiences, and you deal with people with lots of different life experiences.
You
produce things.
But I also live, I get a lot of my conversation is one-sided at me through listening to podcasts and stuff like that. And everybody in that world knows that. So I guess, it's a biased thing. I'm saying everyone knows that because I listen to people on podcasts talk about it, but they're people that are already in the know. So I don't talk to a lot of viewers who I guess would be.
I think that I listen to people on podcasts and they talk about the things that are happening on screen.
Or you talk about people podcasts about this show.
Yeah, about this show.
But that's their money though. So they have to talk about the show. I'm talking about people who talk about just everyday things and news, and they say like when reality show comes up, it's like, it's all just, what do they call it? They call it, there's a term for it. It's scripted reality.
Oh, okay.
So, that's like a term that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I've talked to people on lots of different reality shows, working with lots of different networks and lots of different production companies, and everyone has a different experience.
Right.
So I think it depends on who your EP is and who your field producer is. I think it depends on what network you.
And it depends on the cast. Like sometimes the truth might be the most fascinating thing. I'm sure there are couples who it's like, no, literally, this is just all we need. We don't need to. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's the case as well.
I think with us, that's largely the case.
I guess to be fair, it's just a matter of our own perspective. I guess it's a matter of what we want to take from it and obviously how we want to speak on it, right? But like I always say, for me personally, at the end of the day, I'm always going to react to what you're showing us, because the fact is, what you're showing us is still going to be relatable to a lot of people in this world. For me personally, when I make videos around 90 Day Fiancé, it's not necessarily because I'm trying to treat them people or their lives. Not necessarily. That's not the objective. The objective is to use their life as an example to give advice, to be informative to other people that are watching, so therefore other people can hopefully avoid the red flags that we see from these train wreck freaking couples. You know what I mean? And that's just that, Because let's be real, we live in a world where we need to see a lot of things and we need to be exposed to a lot of things that are relatable. You know what I mean? Whether it's scripted reality or not, these things are relatable, and that's why they're very important to be spoken about. Because like I said before, if you're like me and you're making content that is informative, you know, we're in content that involves giving advice or, you know, giving a perspective, whatever, that can help other people see that side of it and then be able to walk away and be like, you know what MovingMAD just did there? I like what he said there, because to be fair, now he said that, I can look at my situation and, you know, I realize my situation is actually like that. Damn, let me pull myself out now, because I've just been given the warning. You know what I mean? You know, like, yeah, I've been looking for a sign and he just told me. You know what I mean? Or he can even prevent you going into a situation. That's obviously always been my goal anyway. But the matter of fact is, though, here the question is this. This is the question that remains. Is what Danielle's saying true? Is she saying? She says that the original plan was for them both to have properties in America as well as a DR. But this is my biggest contest about it. If this was the plan, I don't know why Yohan would then behave the way he has behaved throughout the season. And when I say that, what I mean is he has not behaved as somebody that knew that there was going to be a future of him going to the States. He behaved as if he's someone that knew that he was never going to the States. He even had a scene with his own friend where literally they spoke about how he was meant to go to the States, but it didn't happen. So therefore, Danielle was meant to pretty much hold him down in the DR, which then never happened. And that's what then forced him in a position where he felt that he should behave the way he behaved. Things like, okay, let's go buy a car. He started, you know what I mean? He started asking for cars, you know, and then started requesting other things. Meanwhile, obviously, of course, he was also dragging other women and asking for money from them too. You know what I mean? Doing a whole complete madness. So either way, though, I feel like if that was ever the plan, I would like to imagine that his attitude would have been different. I would like to think that if that was the plan, the moment that Danielle or maybe the plan wasn't going to work, I would like to imagine at that point, that's the point that Yohan would have been like, you know, I'm out. I'm good. This is not one. I know a scam that I'm running here and this ain't the one. You know what I mean? But he didn't. He continued. It's so very subjective, isn't it? But either way, though, let me know what you're thinking down below in the comment section and we can definitely talk about it. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, peace.